That's some great Mendelsohn music from the Wedding March. I hope you like it. And this is Season 7, Episode 13 of the Bob's Your Uncle podcast. And today we're going to be talking with Christine Coleman from Connecticut. Self-identifies as a Gen Zer, and her husband is a medical student. She's got a lot of interesting backstory. I think you'll enjoy meeting her. She has her own podcast, too, called The Average Priest. I'm fascinated to find out more about that. Stay tuned, won't you?
But I do know that I love you, and I know that if you love me too, what a wonderful world this would be.
On this date in history, June 11th, 1776, the appointment of the Committee of Five, tasked to draft what we would call the Declaration of Independence. Also, in 1509, King Henry VIII of England married Catherine of Aragon. And in 1982, Steven Spielberg's film E.T., Phone Home, the Extraterrestrial, was released. And that's the historical marker of the week.
But I do know that I love you, and I know that if you love me too, what a wonderful world this would be.
Christine Coleman, welcome to the Bob's Your Uncle podcast. You self-identify as a Gen Z person. In Australia, you'd be Gen Z. You're a New Englander. You're married to a man going through med school. You run a podcast called averagepriest.com. It's all fascinating. What got you the impetus to begin this enterprise when you're already very busy in life?
Good question. Sometime last year, I was just thinking about the fact that many of the sermons and books I read are created by what I ironically call professional Christians, people who are getting paid to be a Christian. And, these are pastors. And obviously we need pastors. They're very important in our lives. But I had this feeling of, I would like to learn from a person or from people who live lives like me and don't have such a obviously fulfilling job. And for me, work has been a struggle in my faith of how do I find purpose in my job when it's so mundane? And I look up to my friends and other Christians around me who also aren't in professional ministry jobs. And I just ask them questions like, how do you live your life? Tell me about your professions. A lot of my friends are in school. So that's a whole stage of life, which is tough. But yeah, that's the premise of the podcast.
That's a great one. Australians, by the way, use the term school to only mean primary and high school.
What's higher ed?
Tertiary university, etc. You use your podcast to talk about God a lot. What makes your voice unique in this crowded space?
Yeah, um I'm not finding a lot of people just talking to normal people. And not that I'm just a normal person, but I like to ask questions and I like to listen to people. So I think that that's my talent, I guess, is I can see the ways that other people inspire me. And a lot of my friends that I've asked to be on the podcast are like, oh, I don't have anything to say. And then we get into it and we're talking for more than an hour. And every person this is like my little motto, every Christian has had a supernatural encounter with the living God and has something significant to share about God and has had a significant impact in the kingdom of heaven. And I want to elevate that. So I haven't seen a lot of other people doing that. So I think that's my contribution.
It's unique. Have you ever worked at a church? And if so, in what capacity? And
Actually, yes.
are you still employed there?
No. So I used to work at Vox Church. Have you heard of Vox Church? No.
No.
It's
Not yet.
in it's in New England, primarily in Connecticut, but they have a couple locations in Massachusetts. I was the database administrator at Vox, so I wasn't in a ministry role, but you could categorize Vox as a mega church. And so that was, I mean, no other churches are going to have a database administrator. So I got to see like the inner workings of a large church structure. Um, and we actually left that church about 8 months ago to start coming to Wittenberry, which is a much smaller, I would say, more communal church, which is how we met. Um, and no, I no longer work there. However, I do work for a consulting company that basically does the same thing I was doing for Vox for other churches.
Hmm.
So now I have multiple clients around the country that I do database administration for.
Fantastic. You described most ordinary people having mundane jobs. Mundane from the word mundo, meaning the world, worldly jobs. You do know, since you used to work at a church, that most church jobs are mundane, don't you?
Uh-huh. Yeah.
I mean, I'm a professional missionary. I've been one for 45 years. You do know that most of my work is boring, don't you?
What is it? Answering emails, doing
Right.
admin?
What's you got to answer emails, you got to open the newsletters, you got to read them, you got to answer people. Emails is one thing. Real mail, there people actually put stamps on things still.
Wow.
And I read those and I have to answer those. Then I have to visit people and I have to take care of my car and I have to take care of ministry property. It's just normal, ordinary, boring life. I guess people think, "Ooh, you're excited. You live there in the exciting world of ministry." Well, yeah, there are moments, but I describe it as the day by day is really like the different than sunrise and sunset. Those are exhilarating. Those are moments. They don't last very long. Those keep a lot of people writing newsletters. Oh, this happened and this happened. Ooh, fantastic. Yeah, but most of the time it's just the sunshine on the crops and it's boring.
Wow, I really like that metaphor. I think that's really helpful. You know, it's helpful to hear that it's not as glamorous as I would suspect. Because I think that, I mean, my podcast is also like a cathartic exercise for me to try to convince myself that I don't need to be in full-time ministry to like be a good Christian. And that's just encouraging to hear that, the practice of learning contentment, like Paul says, to be content in all things, um, would transfer to any job that I had.
You and I met on a pickleball court in Connecticut recently. Are you a player or just an interloper? And
Yeah,
how long have you been playing?
interloper for sure. The first time I ever played was on Martha's Vineyard. an island off of Massachusetts at with my aunt who destroys me every time. I always say people over the age of 55 will always beat me at pickleball because I feel like the older you get, the better you are because you have to be more right, you think. Um so I just loved it. I haven't found any leagues, but I think that would be next in my journey.
Excellent. Well, I'll hope for you for that.
Thank you.
You're married. After your husband graduates medical school, what are his plans for location or subset career?
That's like our daily conversation. Where are we gonna go? We are in, if people don't know, the way that the medical school system works is that in your fourth year or your last year, you start applying for residencies around like the fall time. And you rank the residencies, like you say, this one's my favorite, second favorite, third favorite. And then you start getting interviews. And then the residencies rank you back, but they obviously don't tell you
Hmm.
how you're ranked. But then it goes into one big algorithm. And one day, every single med student discovers where they got matched.
Hmm.
So it's a very intense system. So you really don't know. And you can't change it once it comes back. It's like a court order, basically.
Hmm.
So it's
Invited
very,
or subpoenaed.
yeah. Yep. It's crazy to think about that I'm like a year from now, I don't know where we're gonna be. But we want to stay on the East Coast, but we've thought about Colorado, we've thought about California or the West Coast, thought about, I guess, both coasts. Um, but I don't know, Bob. I really don't know.
It's exciting. Ignorance is not bliss, but it does cause you to pray more. Um, Here's a question. If you had 10 of my Bob's Your Uncle podcast followers in a small group in your home, what would be your first meeting's agenda? Who would lead it and how long would it last?
Oh, the agenda would just be to get to know each other. And I would have made dinner, um, or dinner would be have been provided. And it would really the agenda would just be to get to know each other. And my philosophy of small groups has changed over the years, and
Hmm.
relationship is the top priority over a curriculum right now. So, since I don't know any of your listeners, we'd be getting to know each other. And it would probably last very long until the point that my husband and I needed to go to bed. And this has happened before. Then my husband would start playing on his guitar the Get Out of My House song.
I don't know that song, but I'll look for it on Spotify.
No, it's a Coleman original.
Oh, I see. Here's some quick choices. Winter or summer?
Summer.
Coca-Cola or Pepsi?
Coca-Cola. These are
Red
easy.
Sox? Okay, Red Sox or Yankees?
Indifferent.
Old Testament or New Testament?
That's a hard one, Bob. I'm gonna say Old Testament because it's the majority of the Bible.
It's the biggest chunk, yeah. Dog or cat?
Cats.
Would you like to be a pastor or an evangelist?
Wow, another hard question. Wow. I think I'm more of an evangelist than a pastor.
Excellent. Look, if my people in my podcast want to follow you, want to go find you on your pod, how do they reach you?
Yeah, my podcast is called Average Priest. You can find me on any podcast platform. You could email me at averagepriest@gmail.com. You can follow me on Instagram, average_priest. Um, let's see, what else can you do? Those are the options. I also have a Substack, Average Priest on Substack.
Pretty exciting. Hopefully, several will join you and be part of your family. You're not Catholic, so why priest?
Yeah, as I was listening to your sermon this past Sunday, I wanted to talk to you more about priestliness. But I'm just inspired by the verses that talk about us being a royal priesthood, specifically the one in Revelation 1:4 that talks about how Jesus has made us a royal priesthood. That just came to my mind. I think it's more evocative than the word Christian. When people hear the word Christian, they already have all these ideas of what it means. Obviously, people feel that way about priests too, but I think it gets people to stop a little bit more and think about what that could mean.
You don't wear a collar.
I don't. I'm also not a man.
I knew that right away. Thank you. Christine, this has been a joy. Thanks for spending some time with us. And I wish you God's terrific blessings, not only today, not only when this airs, but next autumn. We don't say fall in Australia. Next autumn, when you are sorting out what you're going to be when you grow up. That's pretty exciting.
That's a good way of putting it. Thank you so much for having me, Bob. It was a joy to get to know you better.
Hey, thanks for joining us on the podcast today. We have a lot of good guests signed up to join us in the American summer, and so we're gonna keep sharing people with you, because that's what this is about. People who can let you see their side of the world, and maybe we'll get to hear from people who think differently, have different interests than you do, and we'll all be better because we're going to have twice as many ears as mouths, as they say. Be quick to hear, slow to speak, slow to anger. That'd be a good thing. So until next week, when things seem bleak or uncertain, look up to God. He's in his heaven, and Bob's your uncle. Shalom.